O Christ, create new hearts in us that beat in time with yours, that joined by faith with your great heart become love's open doors. Looking up to heaven, Jesus sighed and said to the man, Ephphatha, that is, be opened. In the name of the one holy and living God, amen. Please be seated. What a delight for me to be here for my visitation, to be here among you at All Saints in Wolfboro. The last time I was here, it was sort of an overcast day. It was actually raining, and it broke open just in time for me to get carried up on that lift for the blessing of the solar panels. It was a great day. So that was fun, but I'm happy to just keep my feet on the ground today to be with you. And the place looks amazing. It's just so well kept, and I love the floor and the color and it's just, I sometimes think that churches, then I visit them, part of my job as a bishop going around, I get to sort of say what other people are saying behind your back. But I just appreciate, how a space sometimes exhibits or demonstrates how we care for our community, right? That how you take care of this physical space. We can make idols of our churches and our physical spaces, right? They can become sort of an impediment to our community. But this place seems to be a reflection of how you care and love for one another and for those who come in and visit and use this space. So I'm so grateful for that, to see that here. We get a strange passage of the gospel in the Gospel of Mark, don't we? We see a different side of Jesus when he goes to a foreign territory. He goes over the border, away from Galilee, away from Judah, away from his own kin and his own people, his own faith, his own religion. And he goes among those who are seen to be and thought of to be unclean. He goes there thinking, it said, that he could get some rest. He won't be recognized. He can go and have a kind of a retreat and enjoy some time in prayer and just recoup, because he's been busy. Jesus, especially in Mark's gospel, everything is such fast pace. Mark's favorite word is immediately. Things happen really quickly. So he goes to this region near Tyre, which is sort of in the north area above what's sort of now Syria. And there he is encountered. He is met, he's really accosted and confronted with a woman in distress. Now, that she would come to him sort of unchaperoned, a woman, an unclean woman who is from a different country, a different nationality, different religion, that she dares to face him and demand, please heal my daughter. And Jesus says, let the children of Israel, the children, eat first. It's wrong for us to cast our food and throw it to the dogs. This is Jesus. Sometimes I've gone to conferences and we'll say, we'll hear a passage and it just seems so unchristian that Jesus would say, but it is Jesus who's saying this. So what do you do with that? What do you do with that? Let me just stop and pause there, because of course that's not the end of the story. We are in a period of time in the Christian church, in the life especially of American Christianity, so fractured, so splintered, it's like kind of shattered glass, the denominationalism in the American religious Christian experience. that we find ourselves, and the mainline denominations, by some measurements, seem to be in decline. We've heard this a lot, and we've heard that they seem to have lost their bearings. We find ourselves in a space where it's important for us to recover why we are Christian. There are a number of books being out in the bookshelves now, rediscovering the why. Why do we do this? Why are you here on a beautiful Sunday morning? Why are you here? Why do you give money? Why do you give yourselves? Why do you offer prayer? Why do you affiliate with such a strange organization as the Episcopal Church, for instance? Why? Why do you do that? Why? And I sometimes think about questions like that can really be disruptive. Basic, simple, the most simple question can really throw me for a loop. I remember once applying for college, and the particular college that I really wanted to go to had a question on the application that went like this. I remember the question: what message would you give suspected visitors from outer space concerning life on Earth? Seems like a basic question, like, what is the nature of life on Earth, you know? And I struggled and I struggled. And this was the days before word processing. So all I had was whiteout and, you know, those little ribbons and erasers. There was like no fibers of paper left on that application. And I'm still wondering about that question. But the question why? What is the aim of the Christian life? Why do you follow Jesus? Why do you follow Jesus? And, you know, some may say, well, he's a great moral teacher. That's why, you know, it's a good way to learn what's right from wrong. You know, we come to follow Jesus because he is the Messiah. You know, all of those questions may be good and worthy. I don't know how you answer that question. Maybe today you'll be as confused. Maybe the point of the sermon is just to confuse you more. Here it is, Jesus, who says, let's just feed our own children first. It's not right for us to give our food to the dogs, you, unclean woman, from outside the boundaries. So let's follow that Jesus. In many ways, many Christians, American Christians, really like that Jesus. But is that the Jesus that we follow? A monk friend of mine from years ago told me quite boldly, that the aim of the Christian life, the purpose of the Christian life, is not simply to be good, but to be godly, which is not just being good writ large. It doesn't mean just being like really good, but it means something else. Jesus is godly, and he shows his godliness, his expansive mercy, his willingness to go beyond what's expected of him, his courage to be unclean, even on the cross. And that's our path. The aim of going to church, I would submit, is to come to know Jesus and to become more like Jesus. To become more like Jesus. When you were baptized, there was the old word for being baptized, right? It was to be baptized, but another word for that was you would attend someone's christening. It was a christening. It was a making of Christ. Each of us is a little, sort of a limited, fallen, broken, but still striving to become like Jesus. To become like Jesus. To become not only good, as the world and our society may define goodness, but to become godly. How does the world define good? Well, we love our own. We take care of our own. Us first. We are to like our friends, take care of our friends, take care of our family first. Charity begins at home, which isn't in the Bible, by the way. And hate our enemies. That's good. That's what it means to be a good citizen, right? That's what it meant to be a good Jew. Don't throw our precious food to those who are the dogs, the outsiders, the unclean, but let the children eat first. Let the children of Israel, in other words, eat first. But even Jesus knows that his vocation as the Messiah, as a child of God, as God's beloved, is to turn. She says, the woman says, yes, but even the dogs get to eat the crumbs under the table. Some of us of a certain generation will hear echoes of a liturgical prayer about those crumbs. Do you know what I'm talking about? Well, there must be some old Episcopalians here. Yeah. We are not worthy so much to gather up the crumbs under thy table. That's where this comes from. There's another passage, there's another liturgical connection with this gospel. The Ephphatha, be opened. In the olden days, before a baptism, the priest would sometimes put hands on the ears of those who were about to be baptized and say, Ephphatha, be opened. Be open to receive the Holy Spirit. Be open to be moved, to be broken open, not just to become good, but to become godly. What does that look like for us? What might that look like for us to have that same willingness and courage and inner spiritual strength to admit that our understanding of God's mercy is too small? That we get to feed all of creation, all of God's people, not just those of this little tribe of Episcopalians, not just those who are Christian, not just those who look and act and vote like us, however we vote, but to actually go beyond, to be open to that. What might that look like? What might it look like to be Jesus, even the Jesus who repents, even the Jesus who turns? He shows us how. I've been reading, the past few years, I've been reading a series of detective novels. Some of you may have heard of Louise Penny. I think it's an Episcopal thing. It's Louise Penny. If you haven't read, it could be your Wolfboro Reads. You could read some of Louise Penny. She is from Quebec. She's a Canadian author. She writes of this Chief Inspector Armand Gamache. He's a Quebecois, works for I guess it's sort of like what would be the FBI for Canada. And he's very, very paternal, very kind of uncle. He's very avuncular, kind of like he's a great, kind, wise inspector. And he goes to there's this village called Three Pines in Quebec, in the eastern townships of Quebec, which is this idyllic little village with a wonderful, bistro and a wonderful restaurant and some artsy people and some really curious people. We keep saying that it's a quaint village, but there always seems to be a murder that takes place in Three Pines. Anyway, he somehow always finds the villain. And he's also has to mentor, he has these disciples of new, young, headstrong, arrogant, know-it-all police detectives that he has to train. And he's asked several times, Inspector Gamache, what is your secret? How is it that you can be so successful, and how is it that you are such a wonderful human being? And he says there are 4 sayings to wisdom. 4 sayings to wisdom. Now, you know where I'm going with it, those who know Louise Penny. They are, I was wrong. I am sorry. I don't know. I need help. The 4 sayings of wisdom. They could be in the Bible. It could be Jesus in today's gospel. I think I'm wrong about you. I think I need to heal your daughter. I think that's what God is calling me to do. And then notice where he goes after. He keeps going into the Decapolis, even deeper into Gentile territory. I was wrong. I'm not just here for the Jews. I'm here for all of humankind. And he changes. That same kind of supple, open. Now, you might think that that's a sign of weakness to say, I was wrong, I'm sorry, I don't know, I need help. But tell me, what marriage, what parent, what church, what nation wouldn't be made more godly? Not just good, but more godly, if it followed and heeded those 4 sayings. Those 4 sayings. So as we move today, asking ourselves, why are we here? Why come to church? Why? What is the aim of the Christian life? Again, I'd submit it's to know and to become more like Jesus. Even the Jesus who has the courage and the sense of his identity being so rooted in a merciful God that he can admit and move and turn. May we become more like Jesus, willing to offer even our appearances of righteousness and goodness for the sake of becoming more like God. Amen.